Alright, so we're continuing video 4 from week 4 regarding speech, where we're trying to have a clean speech, NEKIUS. So he says like that: we shall now discuss the societal sins born of human association and community, such as verbal oppression, shaming, offering misleading advice, tale-bearing, hating and taking revenge, taking oaths, lying, desecrating God's name, and so forth. Who can say I am innocent of them? I am clear of incurring guilt in respect to them. So the sin of verbal oppression includes saying something in the presence of another person that might cause him shame. So we have to be careful whatever we say. It's not something that might make the person feel shame, even if the person is there and even if it's true. All the more so is one forbidden to say something directly or do anything to him that may cause him shame. This is what is stated in the chapter Hazahav. If a man was a penitent, one may not say to him, remember your former deeds, and so on. Like, we're not supposed to remind Baal Tshuva or what he did wrong in the past, the way he lived, or a ger, out of sensitivity, because they might feel bad and ashamed of the way they used to live. If ailments afflicted, or like we keep reminding someone, oh yeah, you used to do that. This is that's what's wrong with you. You used to be like that. All that type of arguments should not be used, because the person has changed. Now he's a new person, and we change, and it's real. If ailments afflicted someone, one should not say to him in the way that Eob's friends say to him, remember, I pray you, what innocent man ever perished? Or where were the upright cut off? So, in a way, if you're in pain and you're suffering, you should not make him feel bad about it. It's like, oh yeah, people who suffer don't suffer for no reason. It's probably a sin or something. Sorry. So we have to be careful not to say anything like that. That can be embarrassing. When people are hurting and suffering, or like when they cry, they hide because they naturally want to hide because they feel there's guilt in them. So we have to make sure we don't bring that guilt. They have enough guilt that we should remind them. Plus, we're no one to judge, and we don't know why Hashem does things. Or where were the upright? So, if as drivers were seeking grain from someone, he may not say to them, go to so and so who is selling grain, when he knows that he has never sold grain. That's misleading advice. Our sages also said, verbal oppression is greater sin than monetary oppression. For concerning the one it was said, and you shall fear your God, but concerning the other it was not said, and you shall fear your God. So when it comes to verbal oppression, is worse than putting pressure on someone with money. This is especially true with regard to shaming a person in public. As we have learned explicitly, one who puts another person to shame in public has no share in the world to come. Like we'll call it today kind of emotional abuse, using speech in order to abuse someone publicly or privately. And Rav Chizda said, all the heavenly gates are locked except for the gates through which pass the cries of victims of verbal abuse or verbal oppression. And Rabbi Elazar said, all sins are punished by the Holy One, blessed be He, through a messenger, with the exception of verbal oppression. So which time we say something about someone who attacked them directly, the speech is the most direct way to hurt someone and the most direct way to be punished for it. So they also say there are 3 sins before which the heavenly curtain is never closed, and one of them is verbal oppression. I just wanted to bring out it's onat dvarim. In Hebrew, it's onat dvarim. It's worse than onat mammon. That's what verbal oppression is in Hebrew, onat dvarim. Even for the sake of observing a mitzvot regarding which scripture states, you shall surely rebuke your fellow and not bear sin on account of him. Our sages, may they may be blessed, said, might one suppose that is the case if his countenance changes color? Scripture states, and be sure not to bear sin on account of him in the process. So basically, even if we're trying to do a mitzvah, like you want to rebuke someone and prevent him from sinning, we have to be very careful how we speak. We speak in the wrong way, even if it's you're trying to do a mitzvah. So all those people, you have to rebuke those people. But if the way you rebuke your people is, first of all, it's not going to work, or it's going to hurt the person, or shame the person, or making the person feel bad to a certain level, then you can't. The Chofetz Chaim says the same thing. We have to be very careful. According to the Chofetz Chaim, we cannot even rebuke anyone today, because the only way you can rebuke someone if you truly love them and are in their shoes and show you understand them. So if you to rebuke, they have to feel good about it by the end. If they feel terrible, guilty, and ashamed, then it has not been productive. So it has to be a rebuke that is productive, that the person feel better or empowered to change. As for the teshuvah, the regret, all that the person will do himself, but it's not for us to make them feel that part. As for giving misleading advice, sorry, I'm trying to see if it's a connection. No, okay. As for giving misleading advice, we learned in Torah Kohanim, you shall not put a stumbling block before the blind, before one who cannot see in a particular context. If someone asks you, as to the daughter of so-and-so, what is her status as to marrying into the priesthood, do not tell him that she is suitable if she is unsuitable. If someone comes to you for advice, do not give him inappropriate counsel. Do not say to him, go early in the morning so that robbers will assault him. Go at noon so that he will faint from the heat. And do not say to him, sell your field and buy an ass, when you yourself are trying to circumvent him and take the field from him. That's a lot really in business, where we talk and we say something, it's not a complete lie, it's not truth, and you try to take advantage. Basically, that's what it is. Don't take advantage. You might say, I am giving you good advice, while surely the matter is given over to the heart. As it says, and you shall fear your God, I am the Lord. And sometimes it's rationalization, we don't even think about it. That's the danger. We have to make sure that we check, why did I say what I said? Why do I want to say this? Is that completely honest, and am I trying to get advantage out of it? You will observe that the Torah had a complete grasp of the thinking of the deceitful. For we are not dealing with idiots who offer counsel where evil intent is obvious, but with those who are cleverly evil. Right? We're talking about, the part of us that is clearly smart. We can be very smart at doing money, doing business, but so smart and evil together, not good. Yetzer Hara is smarter than us, right? Like we know. He has 13 years of more training than Yetzer Tov, so it's harder. They offer advice which on the surface appears to be truly in their friend's interest, but the outcome is not for his good. Rather, it is detrimental to him, benefiting only those who offered it. It is for this reason that the sages stated, you might say, I am giving you advice, while surely the matter is given over to the heart. Oh, to what degree do men stumble daily in these sins, following the powerful call of greed. Scripture clearly spells out the severity of their punishment. Cursed be he that makes the blind go astray on his way. So that we say things and we know it's selfish reason. And we have to make sure we don't It's like, am I getting something from that? That's really the main question. Am I getting something out of it by us saying that or that? What's the most beneficial for that person at the end? This is a study of an honest man. When someone approaches him for advice, he should offer the very counsel that he would adopt for himself, mindful only of the good of the person being advised. He should have no ulterior end, immediate or remote, even if it's something way later. No. What's the best thing for that person only, not for me? Suppose he sees that by giving such advice he may cause himself damage. If he then can openly admonish his advice about this, he should. If not, he should withdraw and give no advice. So I will give advice, but it's not good for me. So then it's better not to say any advice than to give to lie and make the person fall, and you take advantage at the end. But under no circumstance should he give advice where the aim is anything other than the good of the advisee, unless the latter intends evil. That's the only exception. In that case, he should implement with regard to him with the purpose be devious. So like Laban. So if someone is trying to trick you, then you try to trick them. The severity, not by taking advantage, but by preventing himself. Yaakov didn't take advantage of Laban, but he did in a way that Laban would not, take advantage of him. The severity, so the severity of tale-bearing and slander, so that's another one, is well known, as well as the great number of their ramifications. They are so numerous that our rabbis, may their memory be blessed, have asserted in a dictum I previously cited. But all fall into the trace of the evil tongue, which is here Lashon Hara and Chirut. They also said how to slander. How so slander? For example, where he says, "Where is there a fire? Only at house of so and so." Or where he speaks in praise of another person in the presence of the latter's enemy or the like. So you create jealousy or things like aggravation between each other. But yeah, say, oh, there's always a problem with that guy or something like that. That's no, he never plays right. I mean, you have to be careful what it is that you say. So obviously you don't want to be taken advantage of, but repeating something that even if it's true, we have to be very careful about it. As long as if it's just for talking, if it's for the sake that the person is going into business with that person, okay, then you're allowed to, but you have to be careful to what extent. The long and short of this is that the evil Yetzer works in many ways. Any statement that might cause another person injury or shame, whether spoken in the presence of or absence, comes under the hateful, repugnant, evil tongue. The Lashon Hara is the language of evil, of which our sages said, whoever relates slander is considered as he denies the principle of God's existence. And scripture state, one who secretly slanders another, him will I destroy. So it's very, very harsh. It is also very difficult for the mocked heart of man to escape the sin of hating and taking revenge. For a person is extremely sensitive to insult and suffers great pain as a result. Revenge is sweeter to him than honey. It is the only thing that will allow him rest. So sometimes we use sarcasm in our couples or with our friends or to people, and we just use sarcasm because we want a type of revenge, we want to give it back. If therefore he has the power to free himself from what his nature imposes upon him and act with forbearance, so don't let yourself be trapped into that revenge mode. Just let it go. If he will not hate the person who aroused his hatred or take revenge upon him when the opportunity arises, or bear a grudge against him, if he can't forget the entire matter, removing it from his heart as if it had never happened, then he's indeed strong and courageous. Wow. So who is strong and courageous? Someone who doesn't get back to the person who hurt him. That's being strong and courageous. Chazak ve'amitz. Who? So this is only easy for ministering angels, who are devoid of such traits, not for human beings who dwell in houses of clay founded in dust. But it is the king's decree, and the scriptural passages are clear and manifest, requiring no explanation. You shall not hate your brother in your heart. You shall not avenge, nor bear a grudge against the members of your people. The meaning of the terms taking revenge and bearing a grudge is well known. That is, the prohibition against taking revenge forbids a person from withholding good from someone who kept good from him or caused him harm. The prohibition against bearing a grudge forbids a person while acting kindly to someone who had wronged him from making any mention of that wrongdoing. So you don't mention anything about the person did wrong, anything wrong against you or someone else, because it just satisfies your own inclination, your own guts, so to speak. Because the Yetzer is always agitating one's heart, constantly seeking to leave in place at least one impression or memory of the offense. If it cannot preserve a powerful memory of it, it will strive to preserve a weaker one. It will tell a person, if you wish to grant him the favor that he had refused you, at least do it ungraciously. Or spare him injury, but at least avoid offering him abundant assistance. No, you have to be as nice to him as someone who has never hurt you. Now that's like hard. You know, like people who hurt someone else say, "It'll never be the same." But as I say, no, you have to be the same as any other good friend. Or help him behind his back, but do not resume your association and friendship with him. So openly you don't show that you're his friend because you want to show you're a tough guy and that he hurt me, I'm not. But you help him in the back because you want him to be good. No, it has to be complete. Or do not show him as much fondness as before, and the like. The Torah, however, came and formulated an all-embracing principle, and you shall love your neighbor as yourself with no difference whatsoever, as yourself, with no distinctions, no devices of schemes, literally as yourself. Right? So according to Ramchal, it's possible, as yourself. You forgive yourself, you still help yourself as if you're your best friend, even if you sin all the time. So you still love you and treat you good. You don't get revenge on yourself. Sometimes we do, which is wrong. Even on yourself, you can't take revenge. You can speak bad about yourself, and you can torture you and slap yourself and be depressed. Got it? That's not being a friend to yourself as yourself, and you won't be able to do it with other people. As for oath, while it may be presumed that anyone but the vulgar avoids uttering God's name in vain, especially by way of an oath, there are, however, certain minor offshoots of the sin which, though not terribly grave, should be avoided by anyone who wishes to be blameless. As it is said in the Gemara, Rabbi Elazar said, "No constitute an oath, and yes constitute an oath." So Rava said this one applies where he said no twice, or where he said yes twice. And they also said a just hin, your no should be just, and your yes hen should be just. So meaning, that's why we should say yes bli neder or no bli neder. It should be, because some say, oh, can you do that for me? Yes. Well, that can be an oath. Or can you say that? Can you do that for me? No, I'm sorry, I can't. Even that should be bli neder, because maybe you're going to change your mind. So the power of your words brings a seal to reality, so to speak. And you have to be very flexible with it. Otherwise you might be under, not fulfilling your speech, not fulfilling your oath. One of the biggest problems, people today are not truth in their speech. they say, yeah, I'll come soon. Really, it's not soon. To try to be exact, really, what we say, meaning that what is here and here, my speech, my soul, and my body are completely synchronized, and live by what we say. Don't say things if you don't mean it, and it's better not to say anything. And if you say something, say blineder, because you never know, there might be a change. You never 100% sure. So, and for sure, so according to one opinion, you have to say yes twice. Or like people say yes, sure, no, or no, definitely not. So that's a double thing. That's a super oath. That's even more of a chumrah. So we have to be extremely careful. Lying is another terrible. So it's just saying yes or no. We have to think. That's basically it. And say it. Get trained to say blineder all the time. Or God willing, Bezat Hashem. Hopefully, I'm not sure. Look, but blineder is the best. Lying is another terrible sickness that is very prevalent. There are various gradations of this sin. There are people whose occupation is lying. They go about inventing gross falsehoods in order to have more material for conversation or to be considered one of the wise and highly knowledgeable. About them, it says, lying lips are an abomination to the Lord. And it says, your lips have spoken lies, your tongue mutters wickedness. Our sages, may their memory be blessed, have already pronounced their judgment. 4 classes of men do not receive the Shekhinah, one of them being the class of liars. So if you lie all the time, or even once in a while, the Shekhinah doesn't stay on you. And sometimes we think we're lying good, but really lying for a good purpose. There's exception that the Gemara says, but otherwise, not good. There are other, meaning it's a huge thing, it's not a little thing. It's just a little lie like that. You're not in truth. If you're not in truth, you're not with Hashem. So you have to know when you can lie, which in the case will be not a lie. When Yaakov lie to his father, so to speak, I believe it's the Gemara or Chazal don't consider it a lie. Some of the Chazal consider that actually truth, because sometimes truth is lying. Meaning truth is doing what Hashem wants. And sometimes lying is worship, but you have to know really when is it that what Hashem wants. You can invent it. So we have to check in halakha. Can I say that? You have to double check. There are other liars closer to the first kind in degree, but not exactly like them. I refer to those who introduce untruth into what they report and say. So some truth with a little bit of untruth in it. That is, they are not. They won't invent, report an incident out of whole cloth. But when they come to recount something real, they embellish it with lies. So when we try to, that's the mitzvah of Yesod actually. Today, this week is Yesod Shebe Yesod, was last day today, is being really to be transparent. Yes, and you transmit exactly what you heard, exactly what it is. Don't change any nuances. Sometimes we have a tendency to exaggerate or diminish something. They habituate themselves to this practice until it becomes part of their nature. These are the people whom it is impossible to trust and whose words cannot be believed. As in the dictum of our sages, may they be blessed, it is the penalty of a liar that even when he tells the truth, he is not listened to. For they have already stamped this vice on their nature. It is about this that the prophet grieved. They have taught their tongue to speak lies and worry themselves to commit iniquity. And we know that people, like you say, parts of your nature, they don't even realize that they're lying. They're just speaking in a way. So we have to check ourselves all the time, being aware, because otherwise we can become one of those people who always make it a little bit better, a little bit nicer, and it becomes part of your nature. So it's very scary. There are other liars whose sickness is less severe than that of the first 2 types, namely those who are not so settled in the practice of lying, but do not rush to distance themselves from it. They tell lies when the opportunity presents itself, very often in jest or the like, without evil intent. The wisest of men, however, has taught us that all of this is contrary to the will of the Creator and the character of His pious one. As it says, the righteous hate lying, and this is what comes under the prohibition. Keep far from a false matter. And we should get really to the point where, it's like I say, what time is it? You say, on my watch, it is this time. Maybe that's not the time of the truth, or like, cosmic clock, you know. And we have to try and say, when are you coming? Soon. But your soon might be different than someone else. So we have to be careful, try to say the things that are the most accurate. And if we don't know, we say, I'm really not sure, I would like to be able to be here in 10, 15 minutes. But you have to know it's 15 minutes. If your GPS says, I'm speaking to myself, but I've done that sometimes because I expect to drive fast or whatever. On my GPS, if it says 20 minutes, so I say, I'll be here in 10 minutes. But you don't know what's on the road. You don't know if you can do that. So the Bible says, on my GPS, it says that. So it'll be around that time. It's very hard because we always speak in vague terms, and vague term is not truth. Vague term is sometimes better, I don't know, but possibly at this time. So we have to try to be very accurate. Very often we lie because we don't want to say, we don't want to show that we don't know. That's very valid for rabbis. I know personally, sometimes you say something and you're going to be more machmir, you're going to say, it's probably not kosher. But that's because you don't know. It's out of ego that you're going to say like that. There's a lot of rabbis like that, unfortunately, and because it doesn't appear to be a big sin, but it's not truth, and that's one has to be very careful. You have to be used to say, I don't know. No, so keep far from a false matter. You will note that it does not say guard against falsehood, but rather keep far from it. So this formulation is designed to alert us as to how far one must keep from falsehood, and how forcefully one must flee from it. As it has been said, the remnant of Israel will not do wrong and will not speak lies, and a deceitful tongue will not be found in their mouth. And our sages, may their memory be blessed, say, the seal of the Holy One, blessed be He, is truth. If this is what the Master, blessed be He, chose as His seal, its opposite must surely be utterly abominable to Him. The Holy One, blessed be He, has admonished us strongly concerning speaking the truth, saying, speak every man the truth to his neighbor. And the prophet speaking in the name of God said, and the throne will be established in loving kindness, and He will sit upon it in truthfulness. He also said, for he said, surely they are my people, children that will not lie. From which you learn that the one depends upon the other, and Jerusalem will be called the city of truth. This said to extol its importance. So we see that it's extremely, extremely important. It's the midah of Tiferet. MS is connected to Torah, which is connected to Tiferet. Tiferet is harmony. There cannot be pure harmony without truth. Even if it doesn't seem that it changes everything, there is a lack of harmony in you, in your head and your heart and in your speech. That's why it's connected to harmony. Balance. Our rabbis, may their memory be blessed, also said, and he speaks the truth in his heart, like Rav Safra. His example teaches you how far-reaching is the obligation to speak truth. They have forbidden a Torah scholar to depart from the truth in 3 matters. Truth is one of the pillars on which the world stands. So, because it says on Pirkei Avot the world stands on 3 things, right? And one is truth. Truth, shalom, I forgot the third one. Pirkei Avot. If someone speaks falsely, it is as though he removes the foundation of the world. Trying to see if I can find the Pirkei Avot that says no. So, if conversely he is scrupulous with the truth, he's careful with the truth, it is as though he upholds the foundation of the world. Our sages, may their memory be blessed, tell the story of a certain place whose inhabitants were so mindful about speaking the truth that the angel of death had no dominion there. That's powerful. I mean, if you always speak truth, you're much less likely of lying. But because the wife of a certain rabbi departed from the truth, even though her intentions were good, the angels of death were incited against them. Because of this, the inhabitants expelled her, and they were restored to their happy state. There is no further need to expand upon this, because one's intellect dictates it and reason necessitates it. Now, the ramification of the sin of the profanation of the name, Chilul Hashem, are also numerous and intricate. For a person must be extremely mindful of his Maker's honor and subject everything he does to careful examination and consideration, so that it should not lead to what might possibly be profanation of heaven's honor, God forbid. We have learned, regarding the profanation of the name, it is one of the same whether it is willful or unintentional. So that's scary, whether it was willful or intentional. If you do Chilul Hashem, it actually counts, and it's terrible, because there's no greater sins than that anyway. So your speech should be something that whenever you say something, no person should say, wow, this is how Jews speak, whoa, this is what Judaism is, whoa, this is what the Torah, people are about. So we have to be extremely careful. This is very careful. Our sages, may their memory be blessed, also said, what constitutes the profanation of the name? Rav said, for example, if I were to take meat without paying for it, Yochanan said, for example, if I were to go about without Torah and tefillin. The underlying idea is that each person, according to his rank and reputation, must be mindful not to do anything unbefitting someone of his nature. The greater his importance and wisdom, the more he should increase his vigilance and exactitude in matters pertaining to divine service. So here, I think there was... So this was a little bit different. Until now was speech. Now here it speaks about Chilul Hashem, which is a little bit different. So there's 2-3 other things concerning that so really is another category. I think I made a mistake in the structure of the Messilas Yesharim. That was truth, because we said speech is one of the words, but here after that it goes into NEKIUS about other things. So we'll do a few more, because we want to reach eventually for tomorrow pride and ego, which is a huge thing. So let's continue. So we have Chilul Hashem here, which has nothing to do. It's not just about speech. It's about the way we serve Hashem, the way we act. If he fails to do so, the name of heaven is profane on his account, God forbid. For it is an honor to the Torah that one who is greatly involved in its study should also be greatly involved in its practice of righteousness and refinement of his character traits. Any deficiency in this regard on the part of the one who studies much dishonors the study itself. This is a profanation of the name of the Blessed One, who gave us his Torah and commanded us to occupy ourselves with it and thereby achieve our perfection. So meaning, if someone puts a kippah, okay, already he goes into a phase of, into a dimension of, people know I'm Jewish, people know I'm religious. Therefore, my behavior has to be different. Then, if someone looks, he has a beard and pious, then even more, because he looks even more Jewish than anybody else. And if someone looks like a rabbi with a suit and all of that, or he's known to be a rabbi or sage, then he has to be even more careful than everybody else, and behave and speak and move even more perfectly than anybody else. Shabbat and festivals. So now another thing. Shabbat and festivals observance is also a great sphere, because its rules are many. So these are the things where we're prone to fail. So he listed the first 4 most difficult before. Now he after that, which was the speech, was the last 4th. Then the 5th one, he says Chilul Hashem, to be extremely careful. And now Shabbat and Yom Tov halachot, melachot. Thus, did our sage says, there are numerous laws pertaining to Shabbat. Even the Shvut restriction, Shvus, though instituted by the sages, are fundamental. Those are the fences. Thus, it's not offenses. It's how to say? I don't know how to translate it. It's a derivation from the melacha. Thus, it has been said, do not take Shavuot's restriction lightly, for though not laying hands on the sacrifice is such a restriction, it occasioned dispute among the greatest authorities of the generation. But the details of the various categories of Shabbat and Yom Tov laws are explained in the works of the codifier, all are equal with regard to their binding character and the vigilance they require. So the commonality find the most difficult about Shabbat melachot is desisting from commercial transaction and talk of business. So apparently one of the most difficult things on Shabbat is not to talk about business and not to do any work in anything connected to earning money on Shabbos. That's where we have to be the most careful. That's where we're most prone to fail into those melachos. Its prohibition, however, is spelled out in the words of the prophets. If you honor it by not walking about in your worldly ways, pursuing your commercial interests, or speaking a word about them, then you shall delight in the Lord. So the rule is that anything that a person may not do on Shabbos, he may not strive after or mention. Right? So it has to be really completely different than the week. Our sages therefore forbade a person to inspect his property to see what it may require the next day, or go to the city gates in order to leave quickly at midnight for the bathhouse. Similarly, they forbade the person to say, I will do such and such tomorrow, or I will buy such and such merchandise tomorrow, and the like. We're not allowed to plan. So that's a very important. Okay, we're almost done. I have thus far spoken about some of the mitzvot that I see people are most likely to fail at. What has been said about these may be applied to all of the negative precepts. So you just give a few examples of the most common one, the most destructive. For there is no prohibition without ramification and particulars, some more stringent, some less. One who aspires to blamelessness, which is I guess I'm trying to find where it says tahor. So liot naki. That's NEKIUS. Someone who really wants to be blameless, making completely pure, must be clear and pure with regard to all of them. Our sages, may their memory be blessed, said, your teeth are like a flock of sheep. Just as a sheep is modest, so were the Israelites modest and proper in the war with Midian. So Rav Huna said in the name of Rav Acha, not one of them put on the head tefillah before the hand tefillah. It's called tefillah because it's singular, not tefillin. For had one of them done so, Moshe would not have praised them, and they would not have come out of there in peace. So, right. So they also said one who speaks between Nishtabach and Yotzer bears a sin and must return home from the battlefield on that account. So it's telling you want to be a true soldier of God, you want to be like a real tzaddik. Well, there are a lot of details, even the smallest minute detail, we have to be, so it's a very, 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 very high level. It's our whole life struggle, but we have to start somewhere. We have to be aware of it at least, and as we go, be more and more careful and more clean. So you see just how meticulous and blameless one must be in his deeds. Now, just as blamelessness in NEKIUS is necessary in one's deeds, so too it is necessary in one's character traits. So all that was the character trait, what we do. But so here is going to start speaking about character traits, which is going to be in the next year. One might even say that blamelessness, NEKIUS, in character traits is more difficult than blamelessness in deeds. This is because nature exerts a greater influence upon character traits than upon deeds, in that one's temperament and disposition can either greatly assist or profoundly obstruct the development of one's traits. Any battle waged against one's natural inclination is a fierce one. This is what our sages, may their memory be blessed, meant when they say, who is mighty? Mahu Gibor, Mihu Gibor. Ezehu Gibor, sorry. Ezehu Gibor Hakovesh es Yitzchok. So he's going to speak about character traits and say they're very numerous, and that's going to be the next video. So we see we have a lot of work to do and so many areas, and but the more we speak about it, I see, you repeat it, you become more and more aware of it, and your deeds are careful. And then there's also working on, once we work on our character traits and we're very careful on our character traits, it'll be easier for the deeds that we just saw not to happen, because one leads to the other, obviously. So may Hashem help us, and may we reach the level of NEKIUS cleanliness. Baruch Adonai L'olam. Amen ve'amen.